Welcome to the Medium in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie, the medium in the middle. This podcast is going to walk you through my journey into mediumship and how I came to realize that I could communicate with souls that have passed over. My adventure started just over a year ago when unusual situations started happening to me. It wasn't until I really started to pay attention to them that it all started to come together. I wrote down everything that I was experiencing this past year in a little black book, and this podcast is going to be a recap of all of those memories leading up to where I am today in my mediumship journey. I will be releasing new episodes every Tuesday, and I recommend listening to the podcast in order, starting with episode 1, as my story will unfold more week by week. If you would like to stay connected with me, follow me on Instagram at mediuminthemiddle. Hello! Welcome back to episode 20. So I was feeling really productive today, and I went through the next 3 months of content and wrote out what I'm going to talk about each week and all the stories that I still have left to tell you all. And while I was doing that, I was also thinking that I haven't done a Q&A in a while. So I put out on Instagram if anyone would be interested if I redid a Q&A. And I got a very positive response, and I got some good questions. So I decided to hijack the giant plan that I made and do a little Q&A for you guys. If this is your first time listening, hello, welcome. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, press that subscribe button so that each week when I release a new episode, it will pop up in your library, easy peasy for you to listen to throughout the week. And I would love if you could leave a rating, comment, and review, or just a rating and a review, just 2 on iTunes. It helps people find me, and people have been finding me. So if you're new here, welcome. I have lots of episodes and lots of content that you can binge listen to, so enjoy. So before I start with the questions, I do want to tell a little mini story that happened 2 days ago at work. So we were super busy at work, and I was standing up front with this one guy that I work with almost every day. And all of a sudden I got a headache, and I felt dizzy, and it kind of felt like my head was going whoop, 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 whoop. Almost like I was underwater. And I was like, this is weird. And I start to look around, and I look at this guy. I'm giving him this really weird look. And he says to me, "What, Steph?" And I was like, "Nothing." And I go back to doing what I'm doing. And I get this feeling to ask him about his grandma on his dad's side. And I was like, ask him about his grandma on his dad's side. And then I'm thinking to myself, no, Steph, he's told you that all of his grandparents on both sides are alive. We've kind of talked about this. Because a few times if I'm sitting somewhere after work, I'll turn to someone and be like, is this your grandpa that's bothering me? No, turn to the person on the other side. Is this your grandpa that's bothering me? So I remember in one of these instances, he's told me that all his grandparents are alive. So in that instant, I didn't want to ask him about his grandma on his dad's side because I know that he's told me they're all alive. So the moment passes, I just give him a weird look. He kind of just says what's going on, and we move on. And that's that. The next day at work, he comes up to me and lets me know that he needs a few days off. He said, "Oh, my grandma passed away." And I stop and look at him, and I said, "Mom or dad's side?" He said, "Dad's side." I said, "When that happened?" He said, "Last night. I found out when I got home from work." And I said, "The craziest thing happened that you're now not going to believe me. But last night when we were all really busy and I was standing beside you and I turned and looked at you and gave you that weird look, I got a feeling to ask you if your grandma on your dad's side had passed away, but I specifically remember you telling me that all your grandparents were still alive, so I didn't want to ask you, and we were busy, it just wasn't the time." And I got this really weird feeling, womp, 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 womp. It was kind of I was spinning in the other way that the world is spinning. It's hard to describe, but it felt like ultra dimensional, like something different, something weird. I've never really had that feeling before. And he was kind of like, oh, weird. Like, yeah, I need these days off. And I was like, okay, like, sorry for your loss. Get those days off. And then it was kind of took me a moment to be like, whoa, that was kind of crazy. Yeah. So that was just something that happened 2 days ago that kind of rocked me off my socks, because I really wasn't expecting to know that. And then I don't know what time she passed away at, if like maybe that happened right when she passed. I didn't want to get into it. Again, another example of how things just happen at work when people aren't expecting them and when it's inappropriate. Cue the last episode. Okay, so that's my little mini story for you today. And let's jump right into some questions. Okay, question number 1. Asked, do I get Reiki treatments from other Reiki practitioners if I feel like I need it instead of doing it myself? Good question. Thank you for your question. The answer to this question is absolutely yes. I have a few different people that I go to depending on what I need. I do self-Reiki at night when I go to bed. Sometimes I feel anxious or nervous, or I have a running to-do list in my mind where it won't be calm. So I like one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. That really calms me down. Or if I've been drinking to get me to go to sleep, that one's a good one. But I do have people that I go to for full resets. My massage therapist is also a Reiki practitioner. It took me a while to get used to touch in massage. I wasn't someone that always went for massages, but because I do a lot of activity, my body needs it. So I've been starting to go get massages, and I have a hard time relaxing. So she'll Reiki me to get me to calm down. And it's hilarious how she can be massaging me for 20 minutes and my shoulders are tight and I'm talking and chatting. And as soon as she starts to Reiki me, it's like I zonk out. I'm just like gone to the world. I'm so sensitive to other people's energies. And it's also really hard when someone's touching me for me not to Reiki them. So she's really good. She'll be like, stop, I feel what you're doing. And I'm always like, there's just a small pain in your wrist. She's like, no, like you're on the table. This isn't a treatment for me. And another person that I go to is actually who is mentoring me right now. She is a very amazing human being. She's a wonderful energy worker in the valley here. So sometimes I go to her for an hour and we do mentoring and I ask her questions and she helps me. And sometimes I walk in and I say, I need a session today. I need energy work. Something's off. Something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I definitely think if I invested the time, I could do it myself, but who has time? So I do try to do like tarot on myself when I have a question or when I need direction, or if I just want a little communication directly from the universe. I love crystals. I should use my pendulum more with my crystals, but again, it's just setting aside the time. So as a form of self-care, I love to go to another practitioner and get Reiki. I also have friends where we do energy exchanges. And sometimes you need to hear the information from someone else. Like I'll know that my heart chakra is closed or something's going on, and you just need that other person to be like, like what's going on? And I'm like, I know, like, so everybody has somebody. And I just have a whole slew of people and a team to keep me going. Okay, next question. It says, if we are all connected via the universe, are you able to channel souls for people you know but who aren't with you? So the answer to this question is yes, you are able to technically. I mean, we're all connected, and I have done a few episodes where I've talked about where this has happened. So I believe it was 3 episodes ago when my mom called about that woman and I said, no, she's waiting for her son. My mom's like, you don't even know this person. How do you know that? I do believe there has to be like some connection to me. So yeah, you're on the phone with me or you're someone who I know. So the answer is yes. Question I would ask next is like, am I any good at it? And I would say not yet. Here and there, I'm good at it. I definitely work best when I'm with the person, and I work even better when I'm sitting close to you, and I work best when I can touch you. So if I can actually put my hands on your body, that's the best. If we're sitting close on a couch, or if we're sitting beside each other in dinner, that works too. If I walk by you a lot, that works too. But sometimes, I've definitely been on the phone and someone's been like, if I want to talk to someone, I'm like, oh, like, is it this person? Okay. So I do believe that, yes, because we're all connected and souls are connected to people, you can connect when they aren't with you. I got another question if I would ever consider doing distance readings via Skype or some other online form. And it's not something that I've considered personally. To be honest, right now, I'm not taking mediumship clients per se. As I've mentioned, people come to me because they know what I do. I live in a small town and referrals are amazing. So if you have referred me, thank you. So I don't really need to advertise that I'm a medium. And I do Reiki and energy healing if you were booking with me. So I'm not comfortable offering anything online. I think if I was good at it and working at it and practicing, I definitely would consider doing distance readings for people. But it's something that you need to practice, I believe. So I have been working on it. I've also been working on Distance Reiki. So how I've been practicing that is just, for example, having someone sit across the room from me, maybe not even facing me, and then me saying, okay, I'm going to do a body scan and I'm going to tell you what I feel. And then me just kind of report back to them as if I was touching them, giving them a session. And I've had some really good success with it. It just, to be honest, freaks me out how I know without touching someone, because I learned in the way of Reiki, and that when you touch someone, that's how you get the information. So I've been practicing a lot. I have people in Ontario that I'll call on the phone, or people have reached out and been like, hey, this hurts. And then the next day the big doesn't hurt anymore. So it's something that I'm working on, but I'm not good at it yet. And I've said this in the past, but I'm still a student. So I'm a student of this work. I'm a student to Reiki and to mediumship and to distance. So it's something that I'm working on, and I'm trying to get kind of good at one thing at a time. So right now I feel very confident in Reiki. I'm getting more confident in my mediumship abilities kind of every day. And I'm working on distance because I know that it's beneficial, and I actually get a lot of requests for it, something that I would never, ever expect, to the point where I've been working with my Reiki master to be like, okay, people are asking me for distance. This is clearly, there's a need and people want it. So how can I help? But I don't actually want to offer it until I'm good at it. Okay, another question I got was if I feel tired after communicating with the spirit. This was also in my first one, I believe. I feel tired when it's happening. So it's this overwhelming feeling, and I take on their pain, I take on how they felt, I take on kind of that person. But as soon as they go, all of that goes too. So in a few episodes, I talked about how like someone had died of a heart attack and I felt like I was having a heart attack. Someone had Parkinson's disease. For the whole reading, I was shaking. So during that, yes, it is draining. After a reading, after I do a session, after a Reiki, I drink a ton of water. Like I'll sit there and chug a liter in between clients because I feel so dehydrated. And then after my clients, I always eat. Like I have to eat. So I would say, like, to compare, people always ask me this question. I say, okay, I do about 3 clients a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like maybe like a 6-hour work day. So I'm not exhausted as if I've just worked 8 hours, but I definitely feel like I've worked for the day, because you're giving your energy and you're giving your time and you're really giving to every client. Like I'm fully invested 100%. I am there for that time we're together. So that takes a lot. But the spirits don't actually take a lot. They just come, say their message, do what they got to do to me so that I understand, and then they go. And then I'm back to normal. Okay, I like this question. Have you ever seen a deceased person, or is it just a sensation? Oh, as I read that, I'm getting tingles. Yes is the answer. Have I seen a deceased person before? Yes, once. Once, and it was the scariest thing that ever happened. Ever. Oh, I get the chills just thinking about it. Okay, I'll give you the story. So it was actually the same night that I talked about in episode 16. So I talked about the man being at the base of my bed, and he kind of appeared as a premonition. So he kind of appeared like a shadow. So I could tell how tall he was. I could tell what his hair looked like. I could tell what his skin looked like. But, if you asked me the color of his eyes, I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's kind of like if you were staring at me right now and you're like, all right, Steph, I see what you look like. You have dark hair. You're 5'7.5". You wear glasses or whatever I'd have. And then you close your eyes and you can picture that again. It's like that. So it's like if I'm looking at you and I close my eyes, I can remember like the biggest features. Is your jawline really strong? Is your nose big? Do you have broad shoulders? Are you tall? Are you short? Like that. So it's not actually like a person. But this one time, so that night, this man was at the bottom of my bed, wouldn't let me sleep, finally wrote down everything he was trying to tell me. Like I say in the story, I told my friend the next day. So then in the middle of the night, I hear my name as clear as day, and I was sleeping facing the right, and I hear, Steph, like being yelled 3 times, Steph. And I was like, what the hell? So I roll over to face the door of my bedroom, and I had a roommate at the time, and she was short, and this person was short, but had very different hair than her. It was like long curly hair, and she had short blonde hair, but they were both small people. And I said out loud, what are you doing in my room? And she didn't answer. And I said again, Jess, what are you doing in my room? And then I kind of like blinked, looked. I'm like, that's not Jess. I was like, that's not my roommate. And then I said, like, who are you? And I got up and I turned on the light, realized no one was there, freaked out, started yelling. My roommate wasn't even home. And I just started yelling, no, no, no. I don't want to start seeing. I like the way it is. I like the way I just see it in my mind. Like, no. And I went to bed raking myself, yelling no to the universe because it was very alarming. I was very scared and it was very real. Like, she looked real. She ended up being the woman of that mother that came for Reiki who didn't want to know anything. So she was actually the first person that I had to tell her daughter that her mom was there, but the daughter didn't want to know anything. So I was like, okay, I will keep my mouth shut then. This one's a funny one, and you'd be surprised how often people ask me, like daily, can I read people's minds? And the answer, to your surprise, is no. I cannot read your mind. I don't know what you're thinking. Even when you come for a session with me, I don't know what you're thinking. I know what your energy is saying. So even when I go to a party, I had someone message me and I met their boyfriend at a Christmas party, and she told me the next day, she's like, immediately when we left, my boyfriend said to me, I don't know why, but as soon as you introduced me to Steph and told me that she was a medium, I just instantly thought that she could read my mind. And then I was nervous. Or I've had like some of my guy friends come for Reiki, and they're always nervous at the beginning, and they say, can you read my mind? And I was like, no, guys, like this isn't how it works. I can just tell you energetically what's going on. So if you're in a fight with your girlfriend and that's on your mind, I will be like, hey, what's the relationship that there's something going on right now? I'm not reading your mind, I'm reading your energy. Or if you're really worried about something at work, I'll pick up on that. Yeah, but I'm not reading your mind, I'm reading your energy, okay? You're safe. Okay, last question for today. So this question says, do I ever get scared when there is something or someone just suddenly there, very close to me? And if not, how do I deal with that? So I've shared this throughout the podcast, but I used to get very scared. Now I'm, as weird as it sounds, very used to it. So even as the story that I told at the beginning of this episode, when I get that feeling, I know what it means. When I feel the feels, I know what it means now. Where in the beginning I had to learn what everything meant. It's like, oh, I feel a shortness in my breath. Oh, I feel like I'm having a panic attack. Oh, my chest hurts. Oh, this is happening. Oh, what's going on? Like, do I need to go to the hospital? No, it's a spirit. So now I'm very like easy to pick it up. Sometimes it is sudden. So it happens a lot in my house, or mostly in my house, or when I'm with certain friends. We'll just be chatting and my eyes kind of glaze over and I'm staring into nothing. And there's a few people that are close to me that'll be like, what is it? Who is it? What are you picking up on? Who's here? What is it? And it like usually takes me a second to register. And I'm like, oh, why are they asking me that? They're asking me that because my eyes are glazed over. Okay, I am picking up something because I wasn't listening to what they were just saying. Or sometimes I'll be in the kitchen doing something and something weird will happen and something weird will happen and something weird would happen. This actually happened, was yesterday, the day before. I was like cleaning the kitchen before I went to bed. I was doing the dishes and wiping and the light kept flickering. And I was like, okay, like, who are you? And the light kept flickering and I was like, okay, tell me who you are. And the light was just flickering and flickering and flickering, but I wasn't getting any information. So I'm just like, I'm sick of this. So I just shut off the light. Today, the light's not flickering. It's not like the light bulb needed to be replaced. When, yes, that could have scared me in the past where I'm like, oh my God, the light is flickering. I'm running home. But that's pretty normal. If something falls off a shelf, that's kind of normal too. If I trip over something, it's usually because they want me to get my attention. I kind of know the signs now. So it's not scary anymore, but it definitely was scary. And it took a really long time for it to become normal. Like a really long time. It also took a really long time for me to know what's what and what means what. Because I've definitely had anxiety attacks in the past and I've know what that feels like. So knowing that I'm not having an anxiety attack, it's just a spirit, calming myself down, collecting the information, and then trying to figure out who it belongs to. That's kind of like the daily puzzle that I have to deal with. Because if it's not the person to my right, it might be the person to my left. I might have brought this spirit home from work. My roommates might have talked to someone who asked about their dad, and then I'm like, oh, there's a dad here. And then they say, well, someone did ask me about their dad today, like what they look like. That's happened a lot. So yeah, it's getting more normal, which seems crazy to say, but it's not scary anymore. Sometimes when I get woken up in the middle of the night, it's just alarming. They don't mean to scare you. They're just trying to get your attention. And I think now that I know that, it helps me sleep better at night, because their intention is never malicious. Like the spirits are just trying to get my attention. And now that I know what they do to get my attention, it's just kind of like a little tap on the shoulder. And I'm just like, okay, I'm turning around. You don't need to like throw a ball at the back of my head. I'll turn around at the tap of a shoulder. But definitely if I don't listen to the tap on the shoulder, it does get louder and louder and louder. So if I didn't listen to the flickering light, they would knock something off, or I would trip over something. Or when I walked into my room, I'd be like, whoa, someone's here. But I try to keep like no spirits in my room very strong so that I can sleep. But sometimes they just hang out in the living room, or people hang out at work, like the last episode. So yeah, it all ties together. Well, thank you for your questions. I love getting to interact with everybody, and it's really cool to see like a lot of people have the same questions. So it's good to know that everybody's kind of thinking the same thing, and I'm happy to clear up all the questions, answer all the things you think are weird. No question is weird or stupid or dumb. No one else knows this, and I'm just learning, so I'm just sharing what I'm learning as I go. So we are here at the end. Thank you for listening. Every Tuesday, I release a new episode. Subscribe if you want to stay in touch with my story. I am a Reiki master and psychic medium. Soon I'll be okay saying that, but it's definitely not anywhere in my profile. But 2020, new things are happening. I'm going to embrace it. So thank you for listening. I will see you next week. Goodbye.